Welcome to the Hollywood Diary. Today we're going to explain the timeline of the Conjuring universe, focusing on its scariest movie, Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2 was released in June 2016. That year, In this movie, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga played the characters Ed and Lorraine Warren. Right at the start of this video, we want to let you know that it's full of spoilers, because we're going to explain the whole movie in Hindi. This movie is based on the Hodgson family living in England in 1977. They experienced paranormal activities, or in other words, ghostly events in their home. Ed and Lorraine Warren were the ones who... This story got so famous in London that people started calling their house England's Amityville. In the opening scenes of the movie, we see Ed and Lorraine Warren investigating the Amityville house for the church. During the investigation, when Lorraine is being contacted by the ghost, a child spirit in the house takes her down to the basement. And then, for the first time in the basement, Lorraine sees that demon nun in a mirror. This demon nun... The next scene shows Enfield, a place in England in 1911. It features 4 siblings, Janet, Margaret, Billy, and Johnny, who are all going to school. Their mom's name is Peggy Hodgson. Peggy is raising all 4 of her kids on her own because her husband left them after having an affair with someone else. Peggy has a lot more responsibility on her shoulders with these kids now, but Peggy is doing a great job raising her kids. Then the scene shifts to night, where Janet is playing with an Ouija board, and Margaret joins her. The 2 of them are using the Ouija board to... Janet asks the ghost present there if her father will ever come back home. Later that night, there's a 4-minute scene showing all the kids sleeping in their rooms. Suddenly, Janet wakes up. On the other side, Margaret is shown sleeping in her room. Suddenly, someone knocks loudly on her door. When Margaret opens the door, no one's there. Just then, Janet arrives, and Margaret thinks that both of them don't take these things seriously and just go back to sleep. After that, the scene shifts to the U.S., where Ed and Lorraine Warren are debating with a doctor on a TV show. The doctor is calling Ed and Lorraine Warren frauds. The next scene shows Janet and Billy playing with Joe Troop toys. Billy is practicing burping along because he stutters when he burps. Later at night, when everyone is asleep, Billy wakes up, and when Billy is drinking water, his eyes drift over to the 2 swings in the kitchen bar. One of them is moving like someone sitting on it. Meanwhile, Janet is talking to someone in a dark corner, which makes Margaret. Then she speaks in a heavy voice. "You all are going to die. Billy will die too." Market Janet calls everyone together and puts them to sleep. She falls asleep herself. Then Janet comes near the market bat and shouts, "Stay away from Billy! Leave us alone!" Margaret gets scared and then turns the lights down, but there's no one there. When Billy is coming upstairs after drinking some water, an old man is sitting on a sofa in the living room. As Billy walks toward the room, but as soon as Billy enters his room, a sound comes from that tent. As soon as Billy lies down on his bed, Velty walks over and stands outside Billy's room. Billy picks up the toy and throws it inside the tent, but someone throws it back out. This scares Billy a lot. So he goes to his mom and tells her there's someone inside the tent. When Peggy checks the tent, Janet tells Peggy that she might have sleepwalked her way there. Janet's body is weak, so Peggy tells her she's not feeling well and shouldn't go to school tomorrow. The next day, Janet is home alone, and whenever Janet looks for the remote, she can't find it anywhere. But just then, Baggy calls her. While talking to her mom, Janet notices the remote has somehow ended up on the other sofa by itself. Janet gets a little scared and the remote, but the channels start acting up again. Just as Janet is trying to connect the TV signal, she spots an old man sitting on the couch, holding the remote inside the TV. When Janet turns around to look, Janet gets really scared, but then this old ghost yells in her ear, "This is my house, you better leave." Janet gets even more terrified. In the next scene, Ed and Lauren Warren are shown. Ed is painting something. When Lauren looks at the painting, she realizes it's the demon nun she saw at Amityville. Ed tells Lauren that last night Lauren gets really scared hearing this and tells Ayat that they won't take any paranormal cases for a while. In the next scene, it's nighttime. Janet is about to go to sleep and ties herself to the bed so she can sleep. Janet comes out of her room scared and looks down at the sofa, which starts shaking on its own. Terrified, Janet runs back to her room, locks the door, and tries to sleep on the bed when suddenly the door swings open by itself. Janet screams loudly, waking Margaret up. Just then, both their pets start shaking on their own. The two girls run over to Peggy. When Peggy comes in and checks the room, she finds an Ouija board there. All these people get really scared by this incident and run out of the house to their neighbors. Boggy tells the neighbors everything that happened, and then they call the police. While the police are checking the house, they notice something between the walls. And just then, a bull starts moving on its own. The police tell them that this is beyond their control, so they run away from there. As they leave, the lady police officer tells Boggy that she should seek help from the church. In the next scene, we see Lauren and her daughter. Lauren has a dream where a demon nun scares her. When Lauren asks who she is, the demon starts tearing the pages of her Bible. Then Lauren, on the other hand, a TV show producer approaches Peggy for an interview with Margaret and Janet. Then, from the Society and Physical Research side, Maurice Gross and parapsychologist Anita Gregory discuss Margaret and Janet's interview. Janet is talking in an old man's house about Bill Wilkins, who died on that corner sofa after going blind from a brain hemorrhage. She also says she loves hearing the Hudson family's screams. This whole thing really shook everyone up. After this, Maurice Hodson supports the family experiencing paranormal events, while Anita calls it all just Janet's trauma. The TV show also features some witnesses who talk about the paranormal activity happening in that house. After that, Peggy and all 4 kids stay at their neighbors, Mrs. and Mr. Vic Nottingham's house. At night, the crooked man takes over Janet, and he tries to make Vic Nottingham obey him. Janet is completely under his control. After that, Janet goes berserk and crashes to the ground. This reveals that the Hodson family didn't just have a demon, but also a Croat man. Meanwhile, Father Ed and Lorraine Warren listen to a tape that has Janet's voice on it. The father tells them that it's the voice of an 11-year-old girl. So they want Ed and Lorraine Warren to go to England and investigate the truth behind this case. Lorraine doesn't want to take on any paranormal cases right now, so she leaves the case to Ed. Lauren tells Ed that she saw this demon in Amityville 7 years ago, and it was the same demon that showed her the vision of Ed's death. Ed explains to Lauren that a family needs their help, so they can't just walk away. Ed and Lauren Warren arrive in England, and when they go to Janet's house, Peggy shows them Janet's room. where there are a bunch of crosses given by the neighbors hanging all over the walls. Peggy explains to them that these crosses, and Peggy locks that room again. She tells them that now only she and Janet live in that house. The other kids stay at the neighbor's place. Peggy also shows them the corner chair where Janet often sits in the middle of the night. Then Janet tells Lauren that she can't sleep at all during the night. She used to fall asleep at school before, but now she can't even go to school. Janet tells her that everyone is really scared of her now, and she doesn't have any friends left. Then Lauren says Janet tells Lauren that she's just a way for that demon to talk, and right now it said it wants to mess Lauren up. Ed and Lauren sit Janet on that corner chair to gather evidence for the church, and the spirit. Janet tells them that the devil won't talk as long as they keep staring at him like that. Everyone else turns their faces the other way. Then when Ed asks the ghost a question, it answers him. The ghost tells Ed that this is its home and it has come to see its family. When Ed shows the ghost a cross, it gets scared and starts screaming, "Let me go!" Right then, Janet spits out the water she was holding in her mouth. Lauren tells her she wants to believe in these things, but so far she hasn't felt any real supernatural stuff. In the next scene, when Janet wakes up around midnight, then the ghost drags Janet upstairs and locks her in her room. All the crosses hanging in the room start flipping upside down. The ghost attacks Janet, trying to scare her. Peggy's eyes start to open halfway, and she's in that room with the ghost. Ed and Lauren Warren unlock the door and go inside to save Janet. Although she can't see the ghost, Lauren notices the shaking cross and says something. Ed and Lauren Warren believe the Hodgson family's story, but in the next scene, Ed goes down to the basement to help Peggy fix their broken washing machine. While fixing the water pipe, Peggy notices a shadow that's growing, and it looks just like Ed. Peggy calls out to Ed. Then Wilkins' predator attacks Peggy and bites her hand. Meanwhile, Janet sees the predator in the kitchen, and Johnny goes in to face it. Janet gets there too. Then the kids they break the door lock to call Johnny, and then everyone starts looking for Janet. They find her in a small cupboard, but she's completely possessed by the devil. In a key scene, Anita Gregory shows everyone a video where Janet is seen packing up the house and sneaking away. This is how Anita proves that Janet is staging a drama. Anita also accuses Peggy of faking a drama. On the other hand, when Margaret and Johnny ask Janet why she did it, she tells them that the spirit told her to do it, and if she hadn't, it would have killed Johnny. Ed and Lorette don't believe any of this. At that moment, he recalls some of the evidence. He plays the audio from when that old spirit had taken over Janet. Out of several separately recorded audios, he finds one message. And when both audios, and that message just won't let me go. Then Lauren has a vision where Wilkins is pregnant at her house, sitting on the corner chair. He tells Lauren that he came here to see his family, and that he is here, and he won't let go. He even signals Lauren to control the devil. That's when Lauren sees that demonic nun behind Wilkins's spirit. Lauren snaps out of her vision. Blood starts pouring from Lauren's nose. Ed and Lauren head back to Peggy's place. They figure out that Wilkins's spirit and the group man are just distractions, so they can't reach the real demon. Meanwhile, on the other side, this demon takes over Janet, or, to put it simply, he's in control. Janet throws Margaret up into the air with all her strength. Baggy somehow manages to get her kids over there. But when she goes inside to get Janet out of the house, the door locks itself. Ed and Lauren Boren arrive there. Ed tries to break the window to get inside the house, but just then a sofa flies from inside and blocks the window, stopping him. Ed then goes around to the back of the house, entering through the pavement to save Janet, and that's when but Ed walks in without even listening to him. Lauren can't go inside with Ed. Here, she gets really worried about Ed's death vision and the connection with the nun. So, while trying to stop him, she breaks down crying. Then Ed breaks through the basement path to try and get inside the house. Just then, he hears a sound and moves towards it. As Ed moves forward, we see a devil's hand painted on the wall. Suddenly, Crooked Man starts following Ed from behind. That's when Ed reaches the room. Just then, Ed hears Janet's voice from upstairs. At the same moment, he also hears a demon's voice. Ed pulls a cross from around his neck and commands the demon to leave in the name of God. Meanwhile, Vhip Nottingham is swinging his axe in the basement. Then Lauren remembers that the devil had told him his name, and by using that name he could weaken the devil and take control over him. Lauren also recalls that he had written that demonic name in his Bible, and when Lauren sees her name in that fiber, her name is Volk, right then lightning strikes the tree outside that house, and the tree breaks. The shape of the tree ends up exactly like how Lauren saw it in her vision. Meanwhile, Ed Chenet arrives at the first load looking for it, and the joy troop inside the pling tent starts playing on its own. When Ed picks it up to check, the presence inside disappears, and just then, Crooked Man shows up, but somehow manages to escape. Meanwhile, Lauren comes into the house through the basement door. Ed reaches Janet's room and sees that the demon nun has completely taken over Janet. Or, to put it simply, she's totally possessed. Suddenly, the window glass in the room shatters, and Janet starts jumping down onto that tree from above. Ed tries to stop her, but as Janet tries to jump down, Ed catches her. However, the nun uses her power to push Lauren away. Then Lauren calls that demon nun by her name Volek, and commands her in the name of God to go to hell. This weakens the demon, and she has to return to hell. Once the demon nun goes back to hell, everything goes back to normal. In the next scene, we see that Janet has returned to normal. Janet and Peggy thank Ed and Lauren Warren for their help. Ed and Lauren find, although after that, the Hodson family never experienced any paranormal activity while living in that house. But in 2003, Baggy also died on the same chair where Bill Wilkins had died 40 years earlier. The Hodsons living in England. If you haven't subscribed to Hollywood Diary yet, do it now, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever we upload a new video. Stay happy, stay safe, goodbye. Music 5 friends who are still connected by an event that happened in 1988. So what happens when the past comes back one by one to haunt them? And what's the story behind this incident? We'll find out in today's video about the 2005 horror movie. But before we start, I have a quick request. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. So, no delay, let's roll the intro. Music. The first scene of the movie takes us to Barcelona, Spain, where let's take a look at the convent. This convent is a Catholic boarding school where girls are basically groomed. Everyone at the convent, even the other sisters and priests, live in fear of just one person, Sister Ursula, who's also the principal. In the classroom, we see 3 girls joking around and making fun of the school and Sister Ursula. Their names are Mary, Sujan, Jana, Ula, Leah, and Christy, and they're all friends. While they're laughing and joking, suddenly, Leah describes how Sister Ursula is coming towards their room. Hearing this, all the kids go back to their seats, but Leah feels a bit scared because she's afraid of the trees. They watch Sister come into the classroom, and as soon as she arrives, she calls Leah over. She starts scolding her harshly, even saying that her leg problem is a punishment from God. Sister strictly scolds all the girls, telling them their parents sent them here from different parts of the world so they could be freed from sin. And this is the reason for their work. They won't leave any stone unturned. When the system was feeding them all that nonsense, they were bullying me. I was trying to quickly hide a piece of paper, but unfortunately, Ursula caught me in the act. She immediately snatched the paper from my hand, and when she saw it was a love letter, Sister got so shocked that she started choking me, and I even started coughing up blood. The scene cuts from there, and now we're at the present time, where this event is happening to me during a night shift. He saw every big millionaire, and she notices that his nose is still bleeding. The clip was pretty traumatizing. On the other hand, we see some high school students partying. At the party, we meet Joel, Julia, and Davy. From their conversation, we find out that Julia is Spanish and is planning to go to Spain soon for vacation with her boyfriend Joel. She even wanted to take IF, her best friend, along, but IF didn't want to go. Meanwhile, another guy at the party doesn't seem very interested in Aid. And they're seen together in the school washroom. But Aid's friend A comes looking for him, and, as a prank, suddenly turns the shower on them. But this simple prank scares I way too much. We literally see her screaming. Yet we don't really get why she's overreacting so much. Then in the next scene of the main film, we're back at Mary's house, where some weird stuff starts happening. Mary is looking at pictures of her boarding school friends when she hears a noise from the kitchen. At first, you think it might be Av's doing. She came back from the party, but when I went to check the kitchen, suddenly the sink started filling up with water. She was trying so hard to get the water out. Meanwhile, in my room, we noticed a letter among the pictures, with the name Leah written on it. Then suddenly, a drop of water fell right on the letter. At the same time, I was trying to turn off the kitchen tap, when suddenly the window opened by itself. We saw a scary shadow in the water. By then, Aif had also come back home and was coming inside looking for her mom. But that guy kills his mom right in front of Nana's eyes by strangling her. Just fix it. Cast is involved, and the police are called. His friends try to manage the situation, but no one believes him. She tries to understand everything, realizing that Nana saw someone attack his mom. However, the police find no fingerprints at the scene. Seeing the situation during Eid, Julia tells the police that Devi's mom had tried to harm herself in her childhood, and something similar must have happened this time too. During this conversation, we also find out that he's had some psychological issues himself, and his relationship with his mom wasn't that great either. So, moving on, we're back in Barcelona, where we meet Uli. Uli is seen talking on the phone, and then the scene shifts to Al and Ula. Me and their other friends were about to meet up soon in Barcelona, because recently a girl from their group had died under some suspicious circumstances. But today, Christy calls Lalia to tell her that, unfortunately, Miki has also died in a similar situation. Hearing this, Rulaya gets very scared and upset. Christy tells her to get to Barcelona as soon as possible so they can keep their years-old secret hidden. Meanwhile, let's look at the time of Mary's funeral, where Christy has come to meet Devi. She hints that she knows her and that she was Mary's best friend, too. Hearing this, Devi gets a bit curious because her mom never told her about anyone like that. But Christy explains that her mom was at a convent in Barcelona 7%, and they were supposed to meet soon. Then she adds that Mary's death happened just like that. Their friend, who had also passed away last week, was supposed to come check this place out, and here Inspector Christie explains that Sunrise gets really scared. She just says that he stayed in this city until last night, and if he wants, he can talk to her. After giving her mom a final farewell, I goes back home. For the truth, I starts digging into her mom's social circle, where she finds pictures of her mom's friends, and also comes across a letter from a guy named Nikhil who had written to her mom expressing his love. At this point, there are some flashbacks where we see little Devi with so many pictures, like she had seen all this before. Seeing all this, Eid gets really shocked, especially when she also finds a written note from Ula along with a plane ticket, proving that I was really going to Barcelona. On the other hand, we see Lalia making a call saying she'll reach Barcelona as soon as possible. But at the same time, Drishti notices a dark shadow behind her, quietly following her. When Christy goes to the washroom, suddenly that shadow appears again and then disappears into the water. It takes the terrifying form of NUN. Seeing it in her room, Christy realizes that this must be the same spirit that ended Joanna and Mary. She quickly rushes out of her room and gets into the elevator to go down, but the elevator stops midway. When Christy tries to get out, some invisible force traps half her body from above. Meanwhile, If has already reached to meet Christian downstairs, but when she tries to call out to him in the elevator, she obviously finds Christy's horrifying dead body there. After the accident, when Eight tries to get out of the hotel, she once again sees Non's shadow in the glass outside. She decides that no matter what, she will talk to Sunny and find out who this Non really is and why these deaths are happening. In one scene, we see Avello Julia on a train where everyone is heading to Spain. Julia keeps advising Devi not to get involved in all this. She thinks it might just be Devi's childhood imagination coming back, but Devi isn't convinced by Julia's words. She feels like even after everything that's happened, Julia still doesn't trust her. But she knows her mom's and then Christy's deaths weren't just accidents. There's something going on. Something's waiting for her at the old convent in Barcelona. Next, we see her and her friends arriving in Barcelona, where IF heads straight to the big convent to investigate. In the library, they find some old newspapers and discover that her mom used to study at a boarding school there, and the principal was a sister. So, Sula suddenly disappeared one night in 1988. While Evening Button is doing her research, she meets a guy who helps her out. His name is Michael, and he's studying to become a pistol shooter. Michael recently lost his girlfriend in a motorcycle accident, which brings him and Evening Button closer. To help her, Michael finds out the address of a boarding school. We also learn that after the 1988 accident, no one from the system has seen her, which is why she left the school. The band has been cut, it seems, and she decides to go meet him. So in the next scene, we call him to see that death has reached him too. We see Ulala was about to take a bath when the water suddenly starts rising on its own. She turns off the tap, but the water doesn't stop. Right then, the water floods in again, and that's when Nana appears. Obviously, you can guess, it's Ursula's spirit. She ends Ulala's life. When she gets there, of course, she finds Ulala's dead body in the bathroom, covered in blood. They quickly tied him up and left. Michael and Julia are rushing to the jewelry place and trying to call the police. Just then, Julia gets a message from Susan saying that Christy, me, and Joanna are dead, and it's all connected to this convent. Susan says they need to get there ASAP or their secret will be out. After reading the message, they call the police. Susan understands that saving lives is the priority, so despite Julia's protests, they have to take her to the convent where Susan is right now. And the ones who are about to arrive, who are the next targets for the donation, we see that amid the storm and rain, all four head towards the old boarding school. Someone mentions that according to the map, there's a hot spring near the school, which will help them find the school's landmark. When the vehicle reaches the convent, we see that Sujan and Joe have already arrived there. A.V. and his friends immediately enter the convent and start searching for them. Meanwhile, Joe and Sujan are on the other side of the convent, where there's also a pond. So, Sujan was stuck here, really going through some tough times, and she keeps saying that they're just getting punished for their actions. Their other friends have been killed, and now she's the last one left. But Sujan knows she'll face Ursula no matter what, just like she did years ago. That's when the IF shows up and overhears their conversation. The IF is Sujan, who asks her who this Ursula really is and why she wants to kill them. When Aid is mentioned, Sujan reveals what actually happened years ago. So, we go back. In the night of 1988, when Ursula went missing, Jor and the others were hiding and wandering around the hostel after watching this video. Suddenly, they hear Mary scream. Following the noise, they all rush to the bathroom and see a terrifying scene. Sister and Ursula were brutally hurting Mary. The story is that Mary was having an affair with Father Michael from the convent and got pregnant. Ursula was determined to free Mary from this sin at any cost, even if it meant risking her own life for the sake of her friend. To save her, Sujan, Christy, and the others attack Ursula and kill her. After that, they leave Ursula's body in the same pond so that no one can ever find out the truth. But years later, a company dries up the pond, and Ursula's spirit is freed. Because of this, she is now taking revenge on each one of them for their sins. After hearing this story, Sujan, Eid, Julia, and Michael decide that no matter what happens, they will put an end to the seventh one. Ursula won't be able to harm anyone anymore. Meanwhile, Ko still couldn't believe it. He felt like this was just an accident that people were taking way too seriously. I mean, how could anyone come back from the dead? While exploring the convent, it finds Ursula's camera and inside a Bible that Father Michael had gifted to Ursula. Reading it, Eid gets another thought in his mind about who we really are, and he recalls some childhood flashbacks. Remembering these, he heads towards the border, and Michael tries to hold him back. We see Micro approaching them, and in the next scene, everyone. Outside in the hall, Michael and Evac notice something strange. A picture on the wall of the patron saints of Christianity, and the names match those of me and my friends, like my rowboat, Anna's shoes, and Jonah and Rula. Not just that, Incense's death was also similar to how Ursula was killing everyone. In fact, there was a picture of Saint Ursula on the wall showing her death caused by an arrow wound. Seeing this, They realize that Ursula can only be killed by an arrow, so they need to somehow force Ursula to show up. We'll have to fight and keep at it. But Sujin sits there watching all this, and she looks right at me, blaming me. It seems like everything happening today is because of her. She's also like me, a spinner, getting close to a priest named Michael. All these deaths are happening because of her, and Sujin locks herself in a room to protect herself, but the result is that Urs kills her in that room too. All of this happens right in front of Devi's eyes, but she can't do anything. Everyone comes to listen to Sujan's story, but they're shown Ursula's story instead. She doesn't say anything, but hints that she saw Ursula's power and that she killed Sujin. From this, they understand that since the IF is directly linked to Ursula, no one else can see her. So, to stop Ursula, the group of friends come up with a plan. Some people open the water pipe above the ceiling so the area below fills up with water, hoping Ursula will show up. Meanwhile, Michael tells Cher that he still doesn't believe there's a spirit behind all this. He thinks it's just some accident or something. Is there anyone alive behind this? But Michael Joel understands that there's a lot in the world beyond their understanding. Meanwhile, by accident, a pipe falls on Michael and he dies. Seeing this, Joel gets really scared. Meanwhile, the water below had already risen, and when Joe and the others go out to get arrows, Ursula attacks and kills them too. Now, only Julia and the kids were left. Under no circumstances did she want Julia to get cornered, so she sends her outside and calls out to Ursula herself. Meanwhile, Julia is outside. She was waiting for him to come back when he showed up looking very serious. He tells Julius that he knows the whole truth, why these deaths are happening and who's behind them. When Julia asks what he means by his food, Joel tells her a story about a little goddess. He says that his relationship with Maya was never good since childhood. We see Ava pulling her mom's beard while studying in a convent with her friends, when suddenly her mom arrives and starts scolding her. Actually, she's quite strict. She's very sensitive. One day I was teasing her, but she couldn't handle the guilt of messing things up. So she calls Mikhail, admits her mistake, and even tries to harm herself. I heard all this that evening. Since then, Ursula took over her mind. She was created hot and free-spirited, but that night her friends were at a party, and during a moment with Shravan's hand for the first time, she felt something deep. This experience didn't just affect her, it almost killed her. In fact, a flashback shows that every time she came close to death, she went because Christy got caught under Nan's control, along with Sujan and Joe, who belonged to me. Yes, after hearing this story, Julia gets really curious. Meanwhile, inside the convent, in front of the Eid celebration, Ursula's spirit appears, and somehow they manage to kill her with an arrow. But when Julia and Joe arrive, they only find Devi's dead body pierced through by that arrow. Julia takes her friend's body out of the cursed convent, and that's where the story ends. So friends, if you want the full story of the movie and its plot, it's pretty straightforward. There isn't really any fancy theory here. To put it simply, the story goes like this. Me and his friends were part of a cursed convent where they killed Nan Ursula. After that, they dumped her body in a pond, and when the pond dried up, the curse was lifted. Then Nan came back as an IF. She started taking out everyone one by one, basically killing them. Things got really messed up. Now you might ask, if she was killing people, Then how come the police didn't find any murder evidence or traces in the forensic reports? Mood and Zayal were the ones who first figured out the real story. The point wasn't made clear to us. Maybe Imitra is playing it smart, influenced by Nand, so no one leaves any trace. But yeah, Michael should have told Jayal this story beforehand because he didn't trust him. If had already told Michael everything in a flashback. That's why he understood everything in the end. And on Eid, a Bible was found in Sister Ursula's room, which was a gift from Father. So maybe Ursula and Father had some personal connection, which is why Ursula hated me so much. Again, it's not really clear either, but we got some hints. And if you ask what else happened in the movie, maybe Ava ended up fighting with herself and killed herself, which is why Nan Ursula was never finished. But we can't say for sure if she came back or not. If there's a next part to the film, I'll explain it then. I don't know right now. I explained what I saw. If you know more, definitely comment and tell us. Also, if you like the video, please like it, share it, and yeah, friends, if you're new and want to see more, subscribe to our channel. The story starts in 1952. It shows the St. Carta Abbey Church in Romania, where two nuns are holding a mysterious key. Both nuns' music stand near a door called Finite Hagdio with that key. One of the nuns asks, "Are we sure what we're about to do is right?" The other nun replies, "There's no other way." Saying this, she goes inside. Actually, the nun with the lantern is heading towards a holy relic. As soon as she enters, a terrifying sound begins to echo. Right then, at the time, some really evil demonic force had left strange marks and cuts all over her body. The injured nun was drenched in blood. Handing the key to the other sister, she said, "To get this demon out, we need a body, and now it's coming after you." Just as she finished saying this, suddenly something pulled her inside. The other nun, who was holding the key, then hanged herself from the church window. Actually, it was that evil demon doing all the pulling inside. The next morning, they showed the boy named Frenchie. Actually, he keeps coming to this church to deliver vegetables. But then, right at that moment, music, he sees the body of the same sister hanging in the church, the same one he had confronted in front of that evil demon the night before. The scene cuts to Vatican City, where Father Berg is called to the church's head office. They had also found out that a nun had committed suicide in an abbey up in the Romanian mountains. Basically, through Father Berg, they wanted to find out why that nun took her own life in that abbey, because doing so it's considered bad luck in their religion, and since it actually happened, the church believes people will lose their faith in God. That's why, to go there, they're given a ticket along with a list of people they need to meet. Then the scene shifts, and we see a girl named Irene in London, music. She was actually a sister too, music, but not a full nun because she hadn't taken her final vows. In other words, music, she hadn't fully dedicated herself to God. Father Berg met Irene and told her about what had happened. Telling the whole story, he said that he was told to take me there because I knew the area. But how could that be? Because Irene had never been there before. From there, both of them go straight to the boy who had seen that hanging nun. The boy, named Frenchie, takes them to the exact spot where the nun had taken her own life. Once inside, they find out that the nun who committed suicide was sitting there because Frenchie had laid her down there. Seeing her, Frenchie gets scared. When Father approaches him, he finds the same key in his hand, the one given by the first nun. He has no idea whose key it is or what it opens. Then the nun who had committed suicide is buried with full honors. When the three of them go to the abbey, they notice that the blood on the floor still looks fresh, even though it's been almost a month since the nun died. As soon as they step inside the abbey, there's complete silence. Just then, Irene notices that the old nun sat quietly. After everyone introduced themselves, they found out she was the Mother Superior here. Then the Mother Superior said, "You still haven't taken your oath?" Just then, Frenchie said, "One of your nuns was found hanging outside the abbey with a rope." She said she was being sent away. No, because the Mother Superior didn't want to hear anything from her. The Mother Superior then told Father Berg to leave with her too, saying everything here was fine. But how could anyone believe everything was really okay here? All right, because seeing the nun hanging dead outside AB was raising a huge question for the father. He wanted answers about how the nun died. But the Mother Superior said it was almost time for all the nuns to pray, and the AB gate was about to close. Even silence would be observed throughout the night. The Mother Superior said there's a place to stay outside AB, and they could stay there. She assured them that the next day they would get all their answers. Trusting her words, both of them left from there. Now, since the French, there was no work here either. That's why he set off for home. On the way, he saw the same nun again, the one holding that noose in her hand, trying to lure Frenchie towards her. Frenchie felt like some nun was just wandering around inside AB for no reason. Maybe she had lost her way. So he decided to follow her. As he moved forward, he realized he had reached the cemetery. Just then, the same nun he had been following suddenly appeared hanging from a tree right in front of him, and he immediately jumps on top of him. Actually, it was none other than the same devil who dragged the first nun inside after killing her and forced the second nun to hang herself. And now it appeared right in front of Frenchie's eyes, who barely manages to escape with his life. Inside the fortress, Father Berg and Sister Iron are shown. Father Berg is telling Iron about an incident that happened during the war in France. At that time, Father Berg was a page. He was sent to a child who was having some visions. It was just like how Sister Irene keeps seeing things these days. Father saw that the child was tied up. There was a really dangerous evil force shadowing his body. But right then, Father Berg started to cast out that evil spirit from the boy's body. The demon inside got so angry that it ended up killing the boy from within. In the middle of the night, when both were sleeping, Father Berg suddenly woke up. It felt like someone was calling out to him. That's why he goes to see Sister Iron. At the same time, the same kid they were talking about is seen running inside the fort. The father starts chasing him. The kid keeps leading the father on, and the father runs after him. While chasing, they end up in the same graveyard, so the Frenchman had arrived. The kid keeps trying to scare them. The father just wants to find out who this kid really is, and if he's lost or something. Then, right at that moment, a snake starts coming out of the kid's mouth, and that very snake. But he attacks them, throws them into a pre-dug grave, and traps them there. Actually, that grave wasn't just anyone's, it belonged to Father Berg himself. Hearing the grave's bell, Sister Iron wakes up. This time, Sister Iron decides to investigate the church. Suddenly, inside the church, the shadow of that same demon appears, the one who had taken the lives of those two sisters. When Iron looks into the mirror, the demon is right behind her, but when she turns around, the demon vanishes suddenly. Just then the demon appears in the mirror again. It breaks apart. Scared, Irene rushes out of the church, but then she hears the bell ringing, the one the father rings, and heads toward the cemetery. As soon as she gets there, all the bells on the graves start ringing at once. This confuses Irene, and she wonders who rang the first bell. But Sister Irene uses her supernatural power to find the exact grave where Father Berg was buried. As soon as she finds it, she starts digging it up. Right then, the evil demon grabs Father Berg's head and crushes it inside. He started trying. Actually, this was the very tomb music. As soon as the father stepped outside, it turned out that there were quite a few books in this tomb, and maybe the answers to his questions would be found in these books. The next day, after going to the AB, he found out that only women were allowed inside. So Father Berg gave Sister Iron the same key and sent her in. Music inside, Iron saw a nun sitting in front of Jesus, praying. The rule here was that all the nuns in this church took turns praying in the AB because, you shouldn't stop. She started telling about the history of an Iron Nun AB. She said that this AB was made a long time ago by the king of St. Carta. He had written many dark magic spells because he wanted to summon dark powers from hell. But hell took advantage of him and opened a gateway. And through that gate, a terrifying, powerful demon began to emerge. But before it could come out, the church attacked the palace and beheaded the king right there. The people there had a sacred. They sealed the gate again by putting the blood of Jesus Christ on the mark, and the church took that palace under its protection, turning it into an abbey. That's why, ever since then, prayers have been said there to keep that demon in check. But the bombing during the war shook the abbey so badly that the gate to hell opened again, and the black demon came back into this world. During their conversation, it was revealed that the Mother Superior these people had spoken to wasn't really a Mother Superior at all, but the same evil force that had come out of that gate. Sister Irene started telling the other nun that she stays right here among us, pretending to be a nun so she can control us. Meanwhile, when Father was searching for the door where the key fits in the book, at that very moment, the devil, disguised as the Mother Superior, started growling. When Father went to check who was inside, suddenly the devil grabbed his hand and then just disappeared from there. At the same time, an old nun appeared and vanished right before his eyes, and then that same boy, from whose mouth the snake had come out, showed up. He comes up to them. Scaring Father Berg, he started asking, "Why didn't you save me?" Actually, it wasn't a kid at all, but that same dark, evil music force at work. Meanwhile, Sister Irene suddenly wakes up from a terrifying nightmare and then sees music, a nun sitting in her room, praying. But the door was locked, so how did she get in? When Sister Irene goes closer, the nun hangs herself right from the window, just like before, committing suicide. The truth is that dark evil was messing with their minds here too. A little later, Sister, iron in one hand and a candle in the other, when she reached the same path where the door was, right in front of her eyes the demon appeared, the one she had seen the whole face of before. That evil demon started pulling her towards itself. Suddenly, someone covered her mouth and pulled her inside. It turned out that a nun living in Abbey had pulled her in to save her. Once inside the church, Sister Iron found out that the dark force had brutally attacked a nun right there. Now, all the nuns gathered there and kept a watchful eye on Sister Iron along with God. She starts praying while locking all the doors so the devil can't get in. But then the devil shows up, grabs all the nuns at once, and just like that, they're all dead in a blink. Now it's Sister Iron's turn to pray. She's deep in prayer when the devil comes and starts cutting marks on her back, just like he did to the first nun. Basically, he's showing that he's the one behind all this. Meanwhile, the father gets a code message revealing that this is the place. That's the door they need to go through, because Frenchie had said that the nuns come through this door to take the stuff he brought so they don't have to leave the palace. When Father Burke gets near the door, that same demon tries to stop him from going. Just as the demon is about to attack Father, Frenchie shows up right on time and saves him. When Sister Irene goes to open the door after a knock, all the dead nuns suddenly disappear. The truth is, there were no nuns there at all because the demon. He was messing with their minds when suddenly the dead sister-in-law woke up and attacked the father. At the same time, Father Burke started using his crucifix to cast the demon out. But instead of leaving, the demon's whole body burst into flames. Just as she attacked them, Frenchie shot her with the gun he had brought and killed her. Sister Irene then explained that the sister-in-law's death wasn't a suicide, but a sacrifice. Now they were completely sure that the demon was in the basement door, and to seal it, they had to. She needs the holy sign, the same sign with the blood of Jesus Christ that can send that demon back inside again. Here, Sister Irene also takes her oath, because she doesn't want music people to die like all those nuns did, the way ordinary folks did. After that, they reach the same basement where that door was, the very door shown at the start of the story. After unlocking it with that key, music, they find the holy blood of Jesus Christ there, and Father Burke, music, puts it around Sister Irene's neck, and in that basement, they start walking. But as soon as they go inside, the three of them get separated, each losing their way. Moving ahead, music, Sister Iron is shown, and that same evil force starts chasing her. Just as she tries to look back, suddenly another nun comes from behind and grabs her tightly. Meanwhile, Frenchie goes into another room, where a bunch of nuns dressed like Sister Iron are standing. As soon as Frenchie goes among them, all the nuns start leaving. At that moment, Father Burke sees a lot of sisters who are... She stood in line staring at Father Burke and started moving toward him. But right then, Father Burke began chanting his prayers and spread holy fire there, stopping all those evil nuns in their tracks. Meanwhile, Sister Irene showed up at the same spot where that dark demon had created its star. When Frenchie saw Sister Irene trapped there, he tried to save her, but it turned out the demon had already possessed Sister Irene. She almost managed to shoot Frenchie with a gun and kill him. Cleverly, Frenchie, he takes out the holy blood and smears it on Iron's face. Suddenly, a nun comes out of him and grabs Frenchie. Meanwhile, the same kid, who had been scaring the father from the start, jumps straight onto him. A snake comes out of the kid's mouth and starts choking the father's neck, then quickly bites hard on his eyes. Just as Sister Iron steps forward to help, that terrifying demon grabs her and throws her into the water. The demon then comes out of the water, catches her, and starts drowning Sister Iron. He started trying to kill him. At that moment, he noticed that the sacred blood of Jesus from the locket was missing. Actually, Sister Irene had filled her mouth with all that holy blood and spat it right onto his face, which started to distort completely. The blood dissolved into the water and went straight into the gates of hell. The demon was in the water, and just below it was the entrance to hell. So the evil black demon went deep inside and the gates of hell shut completely. He left. Sister Irene's life was saved by Frenchie too. But when Frenchie is leaving the AB here, you can see the mark of that upside-down crucifix on his neck. That means the demon isn't gone. Exactly 20 years later, his condition had worsened a lot, because Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren were both working on his case. Actually, Ed and Lorraine Warren deal with cases like this all the time. At the same place, we also see a woman named Carolyn, who appeared in The Conjuring Part 1 as well, because similar things were happening in her house. He's here, and right now, Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren have come to talk. And with this music, the story ends here. Don't forget to write next part in the comments below if you want to see more movie explanation videos like this. Thanks for watching. Shadowing his body. But right then, Father Burke started to cast out that evil spirit from the boy's body. The demon inside got so angry that it ended up killing the boy from within. In the middle of the night, when both were sleeping, Father Burke suddenly woke up. It felt like someone was calling out to him. That's why he goes to see Sister Iron. At the same time, the same kid they were talking about is seen running inside the fort. The father starts chasing him. The kid keeps leading the father on, and the father runs after him. While chasing, they end up in the same graveyard, so the Frenchman had arrived. The kid keeps trying to scare them. The father just wants to find out who this kid really is, and if he's lost or something. Then, right at that moment, a snake starts coming out of the kid's mouth, and that very snake. But he attacks them, throws them into a pre-dug grave, and traps them there. Actually, that grave wasn't just anyone's, it belonged to Father Berg himself. Hearing the grave's bell, Sister Iron wakes up. This time, Sister Iron decides to investigate the church. Suddenly, inside the church, the shadow of that same demon appears. The one who had taken the lives of those two sisters. When Iron looks into the mirror, the demon is right behind her. But when she turns around, the demon vanishes suddenly. Just then, the demon appears in the mirror again. It breaks apart. Scared, Irene rushes out of the church, but then she hears the bell ringing, the one the father rings, and heads toward the cemetery. As soon as she gets there, all the bells on the graves start ringing at once. This confuses Irene, and she wonders who rang the first bell. But Sister Irene uses her supernatural power to find the exact grave where Father Berg was buried. As soon as she finds it, she starts digging it up. Right then, the evil demon grabs Father Berg's head and crushes it inside. He started trying. Actually, this was the very tomb music. As soon as the father stepped outside, it turned out that there were quite a few books in this tomb, and maybe the answers to his questions would be found in these books. The next day, after going to the AB, he found out that only women were allowed inside. So Father Berg gave Sister Iron the same key and sent her in. Music inside, Iron saw a nun sitting in front of Jesus, praying. The rule here was that all the nuns in this church took turns praying in the AB because, you shouldn't stop. She started telling about the history of an Iron Nun AB. She said that this AB was made a long time ago by the king of St. Carta. He had written many dark magic spells because he wanted to summon dark powers from hell. But hell took advantage of him and opened a gateway. And through that gate, a terrifying, powerful demon began to emerge. But before it could come out, the church attacked the palace and beheaded the king right there. The people there had a sacred. They sealed the gate again by putting the blood of Jesus Christ on the mark and the church took that palace under its protection, turning it into an abbey. That's why, ever since then, prayers have been said there to keep that demon in check. But the bombing during the war shook the abbey so badly that the gate to hell opened again, and the black demon came back into this world. During their conversation, it was revealed that the Mother Superior these people had spoken to wasn't really a Mother Superior at all, but the same evil force that had come out of that gate. Sister Irene started telling the other nun that she stays right here among us, pretending to be a nun so she can control us. Meanwhile, when Father was searching for the door where the key fits in the book, at that very moment, the devil, disguised as the Mother Superior, started growling. When Father went to check who was inside, suddenly the devil grabbed his hand and then just disappeared from there. At the same time, an old nun appeared and vanished right before his eyes, and then that same boy, from whose mouth the snake had come out, showed up. He comes up to them. Scaring Father Berg, he started asking, "Why didn't you save me?" Actually, it wasn't a kid at all, but that same dark, evil music force at work. Meanwhile, Sister Irene suddenly wakes up from a terrifying nightmare and then sees music, a nun sitting in her room, praying. But the door was locked, so how did she get in? When Sister Irene goes closer, the nun hangs herself right from the window, just like before, committing suicide. The truth is that dark evil was messing with their minds here too. A little later, Sister, iron in one hand and a candle in the other, when she reached the same path where the door was, right in front of her eyes the demon appeared, the one she had seen the whole face of before. That evil demon started pulling her towards itself. Suddenly, someone covered her mouth and pulled her inside. It turned out that a nun living in Abbey had pulled her in to save her. Once inside the church, Sister Iron found out that the dark force had brutally attacked a nun right there. Now, all the nuns gathered there and kept a watchful eye on Sister Iron along with God. She starts praying while locking all the doors so the devil can't get in. But then the devil shows up, grabs all the nuns at once, and just like that, they're all dead in a blink. Now it's Sister Iron's turn to pray. She's deep in prayer when the devil comes and starts cutting marks on her back, just like he did to the first nun. Basically, he's showing that he's the one behind all this. Meanwhile, the Father gets a code message revealing that this is the place. That's the door they need to go through, because Frenchie had said that the nuns come through this door to take the stuff he brought so they don't have to leave the palace. When Father Burke gets near the door, that same demon tries to stop him from going. Just as the demon is about to attack Father, Frenchie shows up right on time and saves him. When Sister Irene goes to open the door after a knock, all the dead nuns suddenly disappear. The truth is, there were no nuns there at all because the demon. He was messing with their minds when suddenly the dead sister-in-law woke up and attacked the Father. At the same time, Father Burke started using his crucifix to cast the demon out. But instead of leaving, the demon's whole body burst into flames. Just as she attacked them, Frenchie shot her with the gun he had brought and killed her. Sister Irene then explained that the sister-in-law's death wasn't a suicide, but a sacrifice. Now they were completely sure that the demon was in the basement door, and to seal it, they had to. She needs the holy sign, the same sign with the blood of Jesus Christ that can send that demon back inside again. Here, Sister Irene also takes her oath, because she doesn't want music people to die like all those nuns did, the way ordinary folks did. After that, they reach the same basement where that door was, the very door shown at the start of the story. After unlocking it with that key, music, they find the holy blood of Jesus Christ there, and Father Burke, music, puts it around Sister Irene's neck, and in that basement, they start walking. But as soon as they go inside, the three of them get separated, each losing their way. Moving ahead, music, Sister Iron is shown, and that same evil force starts chasing her. Just as she tries to look back, suddenly another nun comes from behind and grabs her tightly. Meanwhile, Frenchie goes into another room, where a bunch of nuns dressed like Sister Iron are standing. As soon as Frenchie goes among them, all the nuns start leaving. At that moment, Father Burke sees a lot of sisters who are... She stood in line staring at Father Burke and started moving toward him. But right then, Father Burke began chanting his prayers and spread holy fire there, stopping all those evil nuns in their tracks. Meanwhile, Sister Irene showed up at the same spot where that dark demon had created its star. When Frenchie saw Sister Irene trapped there, he tried to save her, but it turned out the demon had already possessed Sister Irene. She almost managed to shoot Frenchie with a gun and